This is English Etymology, and our fourth class that we've done on this. I'm using a book, Swinton's Word Analysis, which probably was printed in the 1800s. It was a textbook that Dr. Hubbard used in his English etymology classes, of course, and I use the same book, except always go further than what is normal in a class. I take a class and then I look up everything that I can look up concerning that subject. And one of them here was Wilfred Funk, Word Origins and Their Romantic Stories. This is a very good book, and I've read all these things and marked them all up. Here's another book that I've used, History of the English Words by Owen Barfield. And then another one, Hog on Ice, The Origin and Development of the Pungent and Colorful Phrases that we use. This is very interesting. And then another one is Family Word Finder, the Family Word Finder, that tells you the origin of words. And of course, any analytical dictionary, World Book was really good, Oxford Dictionary, of course. These are dictionaries that you can use to look up the origins of the word. It'll tell you what language it came from. But in this class, I'm going to try to relate how the English etymology is very important in your biblical studies. There are so many cults out there and isms out there and so-called modern-day prophets that if you just look at the Bible and look at the words and where they came from and how they originated, you can deal with a lot of these heresies straight on. And the last class we studied the word coal and con, and coal and com, C-O-M, and con on the front of it, and then core. And we looked at some of the words here. And one word that really related to biblical studies is co-equal. 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 Equal means relating to the same. It means on an equal level. And co-equal, now we say that Jesus Christ is co-eternal and co-equal with the Father. Do we not? And here in the explanation, in the etymology of the word co-equal, that's exactly what it means. And we looked at different words down here. Means to exclude, to shut out. And we talked about the Jehovah's Witnesses, ek and clude. It means to shut out. When you exclude somebody, like the Jehovah's Witnesses do from the fellowship of the church, their family can't talk to them, their mothers, fathers can't talk to them, the wives can't talk to their husbands according to their theology. And that word exclude means to cut off, to shut out, which they do. Eccentric, we looked at that word there. When someone is eccentric, it means that they're out of center. They're from the center. From the center. They are unbalanced. Unbalanced. If you drive your car with an unbalanced tire, for instance, if you drive your car with an eccentric tire on it, one that's out of balance, it will knock your shock out on that wheel, and it will also knock your wheel bearing out also. So be careful. You must have your tires balanced. They must be concentric, not eccentric. When you include something, in and cludere there, when you include something, it means you shut it in. You shut it in. The word irrigate, it means to pour water in. Irrigate means to pour water upon. These are some of the roots of the words. Irrigate comes from the word rigate there comes from rigere in Latin. That means to water. To pour water upon. Now let's go over here to our next page. We talked about AM and PM, didn't we? AM means ante, meridian, before the middle of the day, 12 o'clock. And PM means post-meridian, and that means after 12 o'clock. And meridian comes from mors, or mortem, that is. When you have a post-mortem examination, it means you have an examination after somebody has died. This is what we call an autopsy. An autopsy means to see for yourself. Autos and ophthalmologist, ophthalmos, to see for yourself. Now let's get back in here and look at some of these other words. We looked at, we'll go back and review some of these. IN, that's a negative in front. Sometime in Greek, an alpha is a negative in front, an A is a negative in front. And IL, an M also, and our word ear. Now let's go back and look at some of these. N and M are from the French origin, by the way, as Sharon, you'll know that. And we looked at this, we'll just look at a few of these words here. Insane. Insane means not sane. It means not sound of mind. The word sane means not sound of mind. The word ignoble and the word ignorant means not noble and not knowing. Illegal comes from the word legus or lex in Latin, which it means not legal. Illegal is not legal, not permitted. Immature means not mature. Irregular means not regular. Intercede means to go between. We have one intercessor between God and man, and that's the man Christ Jesus. We can see the word intercede, that comes from cedere, and that means to go between. Intercedere, to go between. We have one go-between, between God and man, and that is Jesus Christ. The word intelligent, remember what the word intelligent means? The ability to choose between or go between. When you're intelligent, you'll know right from wrong. Of course, in America today, right is wrong and wrong is right. And you don't know whether you're a woman or a man until you, later on in life. That's really ignorant. And it's absolutely not intelligent. Not able to understand and choose truth from error. Intramural, that means inside the walls. Intra and mural means walls. Juxtaposition means to travel alongside or to situation near. Let's go on down a little bit further now. To object, ob there means in the way of or against. It's like anti in Greek. Antichrist means against Christ. An antichrist means something that speaks against Christ. There are many world leaders that are antichrist. There are many religions that are antichrist. Islam is antichrist. Jehovah's Witness is antichrist. Mormon religion is antichrist because of their what we might call their explanation of who Christ is. As a matter of fact, Mormonism is probably anti-God, against God. These are the words. The word object means to throw against. To throw against. And the word omit is to leave out, to send out. It comes from mitere there. The word omit, it comes from the word mitere, and it means to send out or to leave out. Occur means to run against. And it means to happen. When you offend somebody, the word offend there comes from fidere, it means to strike. When you offend somebody, it means you strike against them. Even if it's in words, you offended them, you're striking against them. Let's go on down a little bit further now and get the word post and pro and preter. Post means behind. Post means behind. When you have a postscript, you have something written after. A lot of people, when they write letters, Marilyn still writes a lot of letters. When they write letters, sometimes she'll put PS at the bottom of that, and something that she left out above, she'll put a little postscript written after down below. That word PS means written after. Now, when you proceed, the word side or sidere there, that means to go. And proceed means to go before. Now, the Greek word for this is pros. Pros. I'm sure that this word pros came from the Greek word pro. That means to go before. Now we have the word preter. You have a term in theological as a preterist. A preterist. And a preternatural. Preternatural. Now let's look at the word preternatural. Preternatural means what? Remember what preter means? It means beyond. Preter means beyond. When something is preternatural, that means it's beyond natural. We live in a natural world. We have to have oxygen, we have to have food, we have to have sleep, and all of this. And Jesus Christ was preternatural. He was beyond natural, but when he came into this world, he became natural, and he became one of us. He became our Goel, our kinsman redeemer. Jesus Christ was preternatural, and then as a God, as the eternal Son. But when he came into this world through the womb of Mary, he became a natural being, and therefore he was subject to death, to hunger, to cold, to heat, to thirst. He was subject to even emotions. Jesus wept. Remember, that's the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. He wept. He was subject to all the natural things of the world, but before he was preternatural, and after he is preternatural, beyond normal. Angels are preternatural, spirits are preternatural, they are beyond natural. Do you see how that English etymology relates to the Bible very much? Now let's go and look at a little bit more. There was a word retrospective when you look backwards, don't you? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's look at the word retrospective. And that word means the act of seeing backwards. 20/20 hind vision, you know, seeing backwards, the ability to see backwards. If you could just, if we all had hindsight of 20/20, we would not make any mistakes, would we? Or less likely to make those mistakes, maybe. Savage. The word savage. Savage means, the word salvare means, or savage means, the word savare means woods. The word savage means being in the woods. The Bible describes the Philistines as savage people. Savage people. Backward people. People in the woods. Now let's go on a little bit further here on our page number 12 in our textbook. We come to the word pro again. Pro means for, or forth, or forward. Like the word pros, page 346 in the Greek lexicon. Pros. We have our word pronoun. For or forth. Pronoun. What is a pronoun? What is the word pronoun? A pronoun stands for a noun. A pronoun stands for a noun. How about the word propose? Propose. Propose means to put forth, to place forward. Propose means to place forward. Will you be my date? Will you be my wife? Will you be my husband? You remember these things? These are words propose. You also propose a contract. You propose a contract when an attorney represents you. They propose a settlement, a contract with you of how they'll be paid and whatever and how much. That word means to propose. It says here that in some cases the word pro is changed to P-U-R, as purpose, and portray, and pollute. Now let's go to the word re, and red, and retro, and see, and sign, S-I-N-E. Now the word re, or red, means to back or anew, to back. When you repel somebody, that comes from pellerate, and that means to drive them or push them backwards. Repel, you drive back when you're out fighting in a war, and many of you may have been out there in some war in the past. Almost all the World War II veterans are dead, and Korean War veterans and the Vietnam War veterans and things like that. You go out there and you repel or drive back the enemy. The word re, R-E-D, now we have another biblical word here, redeem. The word amore means to buy. And when you redeem somebody, it means you buy them back. You buy them back. We, by the infection of Adam's sins, are sold into the slavery of sin and to damnation. And we all die. But when Jesus Christ came into this world to die for sinners, it said that he stood as a lamb slain from before the foundation of the earth, before the foundation of anything. He stood as a lamb slain. That was an eternal contract that God was going to make with his creation to buy it back, to redeem it. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes him shall not perish but have eternal life. God sent not his Son into the world to what we call to condemn the world, because the world was already condemned. But he sent his Son into the world to redeem it, to buy it back. Adam sold us in the garden, and he sold even the animal kingdom into the slavery of sin and violence. But Jesus Christ came to redeem us back to him. Red and amore, to buy back. He bought us back. In 1 John 2:2 it says that Jesus Christ was our mercy seat, our hilasmos, our payment. And not ours or ours only, but for the whole world. Now we'll look at the word retro, and retro means backward, doesn't it? Retro, it means backward. And when you retrograde something, it comes from the word gratis. You retrograde something, you're going backwards. You walk backwards. You retrograde it, you walk backwards. When you retrograde something, you make it less. You make it less. Now let's go to the word se. And se means aside or apart from. Secede, all right, the word cedere is the Latin word there, and secede, it means to go apart. When Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States, the South decided to secede from the Union. The Union had always been what we call a voluntary union, and because of the things he made in his inaugural address, he just said, you will not be allowed to secede from the Union, and you will pay your taxes or we will invade you, basically. Because he was elected the southern states began to secede from the Union. That means to go apart. It was a union, but now it's not a union. And the word sign, S-I-N-E, it means without. The word sin-cure, it means without care. Cure means care or nervousness or anxious. Now we go to another set of prefixes. Sub, suck or S-U-C, S-U-F, suff, S-U-G, S-U-M, S-U-P, S-U-S. These are prefixes, and every one of them means under or after. Under or after. Subscribe. The word subscribe. Scribe. It means to scribe is someone that writes. Scribe is someone that writes, and subscribe means to write under. When you subscribe to Discover the Word with Dr. Jim on YouTube, it will send you little notifications when we put up new messages. You subscribe to it. When you subscribe to a catalog or a book or some type of a letter, it means you subscribe to it. They will keep sending that to you. It means to write under, that you're going to allow them to do that. I tried to order a book today, and they tried to make me subscribe to their website so they could send me advertisements, and I wouldn't do that. I didn't want to subscribe. They might get me anyway, but I didn't want to subscribe. Now the word succeed. Cedere means to go, and succeed means to follow after or to go after. Succeed. When you succeed in life, or whatever you do in life, it means you go after it. Go after it. Then we see the word suffer. Suffer. Suffer means under. The suff does, and fevere, it means to go under. Or to undergo. To go under or to undergo. When you suffer, you're undergoing something. A lot of people in the last 3 years or so have suffered from the coronavirus plague. The coronavirus plague. We suffered from that. I suffered from it. Maryland suffered from it. Many people out there have suffered from it. All over. Donald Grewar over there in Wales suffered ever since October of last year and still suffering from COVID. Suffer means to carry under. Sometimes COVID carried you under the ground. It killed you. To suffer continued side effects from it, and sometimes even from the vaccines. I suffered from the vaccine that I took terribly for months. Let's look at the word suggest. Suggest. S-U-G and G-S-T. Suggest, it means to bring to mind. Suggest means to bring to your mind. It means to lead someone to your mind. To bring to mind. When you suggest something, you talk to a person, and when you're talking to two people, minds are meeting. We use language, but then you understand what I'm trying to say, and you can suggest this. I suggest this to you. Will you do, you might do this. You go to a doctor, and the doctor suggests treatment. Suggests treatment, and it brings to mind. Now the word summon. Summon means to hint from under. Summon. Mon there, monre, that means to hint. And when you summon somebody, you mean you hint from under. You can send somebody a summons to say, come here. Come here. To hint from under. The word support. The word support, it means to bear or being under. When you support somebody, you lift them up, you you carry them sometimes. I remember my stepdad, when he was in prison, he sent me a little card. And he was actually imprisoned on false charges. He did get out, he escaped, and then he got in trouble for escaping, but the other charges were dropped. But he sent me a little card. He had been an atheist most of his life, and now he began, I had written him a lot of letters, and he began to think about God. And he sent me this little letter, which I used in a message here a while back. It's in one of my Bibles. It's a little card, and it talks about the footprints in the sand. It talks about a man being under terrible, terrible, terrible distress in his life, and said, "Lord, where were you?" Well, look down. There's only one set of footprints in the ground. I was carrying you. I was carrying you. What it means to support. And the word sustain. S-U-S and T-A-N-A, tanere, tendon. It means to support. When you sustain somebody, you underhold them. You hold them up. You sustain them. Food will sustain you so many hours, and then your body starts crying for more food. And water the same way. It takes water and food to sustain you, sustain your energy level, sustain you. Now, there are euphonic versions of this, euphonic variations and versions of these words, S-U-F and S-U-G and S-U-M and S-U-N or S-U-P. What you do is you change the spelling of it for good sound. Euphony means good phone sound. And you change the spelling of the word sometimes when you put one of these on there. Now we come to the word subter. Subter, S-U-B-T-E-R, which means under or beneath. Subter means under or beneath. We have a submarine, don't you? What does a submarine do? It goes underwater. Marine means water. It means to go underwater. A subterfuge. Subterfuge means to fly under. Flying under. When you subterfuge somebody, you deceive them sometimes. Subterfuge. During World War II, there was a ghost army, so to speak. They would go out there and they would take and make models of tanks and trucks and everything, and people would be in these models. They were nothing but balloons with pictures on the outside of it. It looked like a tank, it looked like a truck, it looked like whatever, a cannon. And they would go out there and they would go underneath these things and they would carry them along, walking along, carrying these. And the enemy would think that there was a lot of tanks coming. Maybe they would have 100 tanks coming in, and they'd take off running because they had dealt with subterfuge, with deceit. Flying under. Now the word super. Super means above or over, doesn't it? When you have a supernatural event, navis or natus is what it comes from, and the word natus or naski or nasi, it means to be born. And natus means to be born to mankind, and that's where we get our word natural from. And supernatural means to be something above nature, above mankind. Angels are supernatural, spirits are supernatural, God is supernatural. Miracles are supernatural, above normal. When Moses walked through the Sea of Reeds, is what it says in Hebrew, the water stood on end and gelled. That's supernatural being. When he created, when God sent down manna from heaven, that's a supernatural event. That's above normal. That's above that which is in the realm of mankind. when he calls the quail to fly in at a certain level into those camps so they would have meat, that was a supernatural event, above normal. They normally did not do that. Now we have a word, remember super. When you have a supervisor, or when you have a word supervise, visere is what the word comes from, and it means to look over. A supervisor watches over somebody. It oversees somebody. Visere, we get the word vision from that also. Supervise means to watch over men. At one time when I worked at Ace Hydraulics, I was over about 20 some odd men, and I would go out there and watch what they were doing and make sure they were doing it right. I would look over them. I would watch over them. Jesus watches over us. He's our supervisor, spiritual supervisor from heaven, isn't he? He's our supervisor. He watches over us. I remember the first time the word Jehovah Jireh was used, the Lord my shepherd, was when Hagar was out there starving to death and going to die, and had just resigned herself to die, and then Jehovah appeared unto her and said, "There's water." And she said, "You are the Lord my shepherd, the one who watches over me." A shepherd watches over his sheep. He watches over, he supervises, and he watches over his sheep. Supervises and watches over his sheep. Let's go over to one other little set of words here. And the word is trans. Trans. Trans means to through, over, or beyond. Trans means through, over, or beyond. When we have the word transgress, the word grass, or grassere there, means to step or to walk. And when you transgress, you walk beyond, you go past what you're supposed to do. You're transgressing, you're stepping beyond. You're overstepping your bounds. Overstepping your boundaries. Sometimes presidents of the United States have done that. They have transgressed. They will overstep their bounds. Lincoln was a very transgressing president. He way, most of the time, overstepped his bounds, what was legal for him to do. Transgress. And how about traverse? Traverse means to pass over, traverse. You get the word to pass over. The paschal lamb, the Passover. The Lord, Jehovah, passed over, transversed over Israel when they were in the land of Egypt. If they didn't have the blood on the door, the lintel and the doorpost, they would die. He transversed, he passed over. Jesus passed over in his pre-incarnate form over the land of Egypt. He transversed over and beyond. Ultra now. We have the word ultramontane. 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 It means beyond the mountains. Beyond the mountains. Ultramontane. Then we have the word ultra-conservative. Ultra-conservative. Now, on January 6th, Biden accused all the conservatives in America of being racist. He said that they were ultra-conservatives, they were eccentric, out of balance, and that they were insurrectionists. There was only a few people that were violent protesters. They had violent Antifa and Black Lives Matter had been violent riots throughout the cities, burning, raging, and pillaging through all the summer, but that was somewhat peaceful protest, the Democrats said. But when a few people broke into the Capitol, they become insurrectionists. And they were ultra-conservatives, beyond that which is conservative, beyond normal. Well, we looked at a few words from the English language. I hope that you've learned something from them. I hope you, maybe when you're talking to somebody, what you're actually saying to them. What you're actually saying when you contradict somebody. Remember that word contradict? That means to strike. You strike them. Contradict, you strike them. Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please use it. I hope that I preached about your son there in this message, him being our go-between, our goel, our intercessor. And Father, please use this message as it goes out.